Democratic women of Kendall County, Illinois. The DWKC is the official women's Democratic group of Kendall County, and we work closely with the Kendall County Dems. Formed in April of 2017, the DWKC empowers women to promote democratic values in our community and beyond through organized campaigns and events, support for local, state, and national candidates, businesses, and charities that benefit our communities by promoting equal rights, quality education, and environmental protection. I often hear people say that they are unaware that there are other Democrats in our area. They often feel isolated and adrift in a sea of red. Our goal is to connect the blue dots and encourage people to get involved, get out to vote, run for office, and help make the positive change that we so desperately need and want. The DWKC works with various groups in our area: Indivisible 14th, Action 14th, Action for a Better Tomorrow, and others, to help bridge the divides that are cropping up in our own party. We also need to reach out to like-minded independents and work together for a better county, state, and country. Our group has a large umbrella, and we welcome all people to come share ideas and get involved. We can't do this alone. I encourage everyone here to join us at our monthly meetings, sign up for notifications, and follow us on our Facebook page at Democratic Women of Kendall County, Illinois. There you will find meeting dates and locations, event listings, and action items. Our webpage is in the works, but we will be up and running in the next few weeks. You can join us on the first Monday of the month at either Panera Bread in Yorkville or the Starbucks in Yorkville. All those details will be on our Facebook page. I also strongly encourage you all to attend the monthly Kendall County Democratic meetings held on the second Tuesday of the month at Pinheads in Yorkville. If you are not a Kendall County resident, reach out to your local county Dems and get involved. At this time, I would like to introduce the members of our executive board. Roxanne Dowell is our secretary. I don't see her here tonight. Beth Kramer is our treasurer. Beth, can you stand up? Yay, Beth. Robin Vickers is the director of new media. She's in the back. Val Bird is our director of media relations. Val. And Mary Presto, director of fundraising and event planning. Mary. Our guest speakers this evening are Chuck Sutcliffe, chair of the Kendall County Democrats, and Matt Crowley, mayor of Montgomery, and gubernatorial candidate Chris Kennedy. There will be a question and answer session after Mr. Kennedy's speech, for which we ask people to submit questions. These questions will be read this evening by Carrie Foley, Sam Peters, and Priscilla Gruber. An important evening. We haven't had a Democratic gubernatorial candidate speak to our county in quite a while, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. At this time, I'd like to welcome Chuck Sutcliffe, chair of the Kendall County Democrats, to the stage.
Chuck Sutcliffe, the Kendall County Democratic Chairman. You might have noticed that we are technically not in Kendall County, but the power vested in me, I was able to usurp this part of the county, of Kane County, to be Kendall for at least this evening. I don't know if I really have that power, but no one's going to argue with me right now, I don't believe. I've been the chairman for about 10 years now, and I've already been upstaged by Julie, who's a couple months as president of the Kendall County Women. She had a prepared speech. I'm off the cuff, and a mess, really. Again, thanks for coming out here. I want to identify a few people here that are worth mentioning. Linda Holmes is our state senator in our area here, back there. Next to her, Stephanie Kibowit, a representative here in the area. Christina Zahorik, I thought I saw her right here, 14th Congressional Committee Woman. Marilyn McLeany, the former president of Montgomery, I saw her earlier. There she is. Of course, even when you stand up, Marilyn, no one can see you. And Edward Bugg, he's an alderman in Aurora. He's in the Kendall County part of Aurora. Edward. And we have at least one candidate for elected office coming up. Jim Leslie, where are you at? Running for the 50th representative. The 50th, yeah. Against Keith Wheeler, yes. I know. And besides myself, as part of the Kendall County Central Committee, Mary Murray, you want to stand up? She's our secretary. So once again, thanks for coming. I want to bring up Matt Brawley now. And he's got a few words for you. The current village president of Montgomery.
Thank you, and I actually have even less of a prepared speech. I can tell by the signs. Wow. Just a note not to touch that. I can tell from the signs that everybody's here, obviously, to see Chris Kennedy. So, would like to welcome you to Montgomery. I should have looked up, but I don't believe this building is technically in Montgomery, so I guess it's twofold. You believe you're in Kendall County and Montgomery, you're kind of just on the outside. But we live with that. So the one thing I did want to call attention to is as I go around and see groups like this meet more and more since the November election, it's very obvious that people are energized and people want to engage and want to be part of this process. So I encourage you to go to events like this, go to your county Democratic meetings and whatnot. So this is the first step in taking over the governor's mansion again, taking over the House, or the U.S. House and whatnot. So without further ado, it's my honor and pleasure to introduce candidate for governor in the state of Illinois, Chris Kennedy.
The only thing I know is don't touch that mic. I'm like scared of that thing. I don't know if it's going to growl back at me if I touch it or what's going to happen. Anyways, it's really nice to be here with all of you. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself and how I ended up here and what I'm doing. So I have 4 kids, and they're high school and college age. I guess they're all now college age or out of college. Last one graduated from high school. You talked about how these people are energized. My oldest was down in Kankakee yesterday, and young Chris is headed down to East St. Louis tomorrow for a couple of days. And the other kids have been campaigning all over the place as well, and they love it. But Sheila's parents, my wife is from out here, and they live like 2 miles from us. They come over to our house all the time. And it's really interesting because they're with our kids, and they maybe have dinner with us 3 times a week. And they say to our children the same things we say to our kids. Little things, important things, though. Little ones will say, you know, when an adult walks in the room, stand up. When you shake somebody's hand, shake it firmly. Look somebody in the eye, repeat their name when you meet them. All of those little things that we want to teach our kids, and the big things too. Things like, it's better to win than to lose. but it's better to lose than to cheat, which is good. And the thing is, I want to be there. I want to play that role with my own grandkids. I don't want my 4 kids who have the ability to move away. I don't want them going to the places that the other kids want to move to. I don't want to be 80 years old and have to move to Silicon Valley or some Austin, Texas or someplace where I'm not going to like the weather, I'm not going to know anybody, and I'm going to have to do that to be around my own grandkids, and that's not what I want. I want to change the direction of the state so that our kids stay here so we can be around our grandkids. And that's not just my wish for myself. I think everybody I know, all of my neighbors, they want that for themselves, for their brothers and sisters, for their nieces and nephews. And I think it's a simple wish, and I think it's important. I've been in Illinois for 30 years. I love it here. I'm one of Bobby and Ethel Kennedy. Wow, that thing's loud. I'm one of Bobby and Ethel Kennedy's 11 kids. And I'm way down the line, I'm the 8th. And my parents, they did a lot to increase the number of Democratic women. Anyways, when I was in high school, my oldest brother, Joe Kennedy, he became a congressman, and his son is a congressman now. Joe, he started Citizens Energy, which was a not-for-profit oil company. Look at all those stares. It's like I just started speaking Latin or something. No, it's true. He had a not-for-profit oil company. And it was amazing because he would buy oil, send it to a refinery, sell off gasoline, Vaseline, jet fuel, 30 other byproducts, take the profit on all of that and pay for home heating oil, which was left over. And then he would distribute that to poor people in Massachusetts so they could heat their homes during the winter. And then it spread to 28 states. It still goes on today. And I was in high school and college, I thought this was incredible. He's figured out a way to bend the laws of the economy so that it will work for everyone and not just for the super rich. He's figured out a way to do the things that our parents told us we should do, which is to help other people, but to do it in a way that he didn't have to spend his days on the phone calling people and asking them for a donation. I thought, I want to do this. I want to do what my older brother did. They didn't know how to describe it in those days. Today it's called a social business. I want to do that. I had like clarity. But I knew I didn't want to work for my oldest brother. That would have been scary. And so this was the 80s, and President Reagan was the president. He'd done something no president had ever done before. He had started homelessness and hunger through executive action. There had been hunger and homelessness in the United States for 200 years, but never caused intentionally by the president. I thought, I want to stop him. I want to go into the anti-hunger world. But I didn't know how to feed people. And I asked around, how do I learn how to do that? And they said, well, you needed to go work for a grain processor and learn how they work. I didn't know what that word meant, but in any case, in 1986, I moved from Boston to Decatur, Illinois. Didn't see that coming, did you? Neither did I. So I moved to Decatur, which was confusing to me because they have 2 main streets, like 2 different streets called Main Street. I was lost the whole time, there were no GPSs. And then they moved me to little towns all over Illinois, and I would buy corn and soybeans from farmers. They give me a list, I call these farmers, I'd say, hey, corn is selling at $1.86 and 1/8 a bushel in Chicago today. If you want to sell us any, we're paying a 2-cent premium, so we'll buy it from you for $1.88 and 1/8 a bushel. You know what the farmer would say? He'd say, where's Frank? I'd say, Frank's sitting next to me, and they'd hand the phone to Frank, and Frank would be like, yeah, I don't know who he is. Corporate center. But he looks like one of the Kennedys. We'd be in like a small town in the middle of Illinois, and there'd just be this one grain elevator there, and with the phone in it, and they'd be like, and he's wearing a navy blue suit. And And then the farmers would come in, we got to know each other, and then they moved me around a little bigger grain elevators, a railhead, down to St. Louis, I traded barge freight. Then Peoria, the big alcohol plant. Did you know that they make alcohol in Peoria out of corn? Huge plant down there. The really interesting thing about that plant is that they put the alcohol on a barge and they send it down the Illinois River to the Mississippi River. Then it goes down out New Orleans, across the Gulf to the Panama Canal, crosses the canal, across the Pacific Ocean to Japan, where they flavor it, and then return it to the Port of Los Angeles and sell it to the people of California as Japanese sake. And when I got there and I heard what they were doing, I was like, these guys are really smart. They moved me to Salina, Lincoln, Nebraska, and I ended up in the Board of Trade and the Mercantile Exchange, learn how the futures market worked. That was really interesting. That was sort of brutal. That was like the 80s, so just raw capitalism. These people would just throw elbows and get in the middle of the pit, and then they'd be the king of the pit. That's how it worked. And there was another guy in the training program with me, and he was short and fat and bald, and he walked in the first day of the office in Chicago. Some guy looks at him and says, "You look like Uncle Fester." And then they call him Fester. Like, no one ever bothers to learn the guy's real name. It was unbelievable. They just call him Fester. "Hey, Fester, there's an order. Fester, can you get this? Fester, the paper came in. Fester this, Fester that." It turned out that was a mistake, because Fester was an undercover FBI agent. Yeah. And these guys were cheating, and he indicted 30 of them. And everybody who called him Fester went to jail. I went and ran the merchandise store. I started volunteering at the Greater Chicago Food Depository, which was the nation's first food bank, because it's the longest serving food bank, and now it's the largest. When I was there, we doubled the size of it, started this first fresh fruit and vegetable program, and started making pre-made meals. And we would distribute through 700 soup kitchens and pantries, but they were designed really to feed people during the 80s, during a period of job loss for, let's say, a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Those soup kitchens, those pantries, and I bet some of you have volunteered in them, they were never designed to feed people for days and weeks and months and years and now decades. That was never the plan. And they are struggling. Many of them are closing all over the state. About 5 years ago, my wife Sheila and I started Top Box Foods, which is a not-for-profit. It's a social business. It's a not-for-profit, but not exactly a charity. We don't give anything away. People buy the food from us. It's more like a hand-up than a handout. Now, they pay half price, half of what a Jewel would charge them, and the food is much higher quality. And they can use food stamps, but it's their resources. It's their food stamps. They're our customers and our clients. It's sort of a funny thing if you go to delivery this weekend. My wife Sheila really runs it. Saturday we did more volume than the entire first year combined. We operate through about 120 different churches and community organizations. And when I was at the food depository, I go to soup kitchens. People say, "Are you Mr. Kennedy?" I say, "Yes, I am." They wouldn't really look at me. They'd look down at their shoes and at the floor, and they'd say, "Thank you for helping." And they were sort of beat down by the whole thing back then. I go to the Top Box deliveries. Now, these people are their clients. They're buying the food. They're our customers. I go there, they say, "Are you Mr. Kennedy?" I say, "Yes, I am." And then they look me right in the eyes. They're like, "Well, I'm a customer." I say, "Yes, I know." I say, "Well, last month I bought the vegetable box, and the broccoli wasn't very good. You need to do a better job." I say, "My wife picked out the broccoli." Anyways, we talk to them because they are our clients and our customers, and that's the nature of our relationship. It's great. But they're largely the people that this economy has left behind. A lot of them are in Lake County, down in southern Cook County, a lot are in Chicago. You'll never see the big towers that we're building on Wolf Point. You'll never see the river walk along the Chicago River. Most of them live a couple of miles, maybe 3 to 5 from Lake Michigan, they'll never go to the great beaches there and be part of that. They're super isolated, these communities, but yet they have hope, I guess, because there's 100-year-old social service agencies. There's people like us, like the Food Depository, like the Y, like Metropolitan Family Services. Somehow they think we're all in it together. The thing is about our group, the people that we work with, if you looked at them, they look exactly like the people in southern Illinois or western Illinois. You look at the people in Chicago from, let's say, Roosevelt Road to 95th Street, they look exactly like the people from Peoria South. Maybe the color of their skin is different, but in the important things, like poverty rates, unemployment rates, the low educational attainment for their kids, their hopes for the future, they're exactly the same. If I gave you a list, didn't tell you which column was which, you couldn't tell the difference. But it's different down there. There aren't 100-year-old social service agencies. There's entire counties without a grocery store. You get a little baby and their family gets sick, they need to take them to a clinic. They got to drive 30 miles. Something gets complicated, it's 100 miles. They need to go to a great children's hospital like La Rabida or Children's. They go to La Rabida or Children's. They drive 6 hours. They call 911, no one's coming. Sheriffs all reduce the size of the force. The state police is nearly gone, pulled back from all those communities. And they're mad as hell. They didn't expect it. They didn't see this coming. This is brand new. They can't believe it's happened. They think that the promise of this country has been broken. This idea that anybody could make it, that you could arrive here like the Kennedy family did and rise from rags to riches. You're like, what happened to that story? How about our children? How about this idea that every generation does a little better than the generation before? Because we don't think that's going to happen to our children. We'll be lucky if we hold on to our house, and what are they going to do? What jobs are they going to have? How are they going to be able to afford a house? And they are mad as hell. And last November, when they had a chance to vote, they go into the voting booth and they think that we all, somehow, the people in the Chicagoland area have created this economy meant to crush them and their families. That we've created a political establishment meant to exclude them. That we've created a society where the only time they ever get referenced is on late night TV and a comedy show on Saturday night where they're the brunt of the joke. They don't like that. They go in there and they think, you all have sent to us an economy that doesn't work for us. We're going to send you a president that doesn't work for you. And they vote for Donald Trump. That's what they did. These people, they're not racist. They don't think the Mexicans are all here to bring us drugs. They don't think the Muslims are here to bomb us. That's not what they're thinking. They're thinking their kids can't make it. And they're right. The United States today, if you're born poor, you will probably stay poor. If you're born rich, you'll probably stay rich. If you're born in between, you'll have a life of enormous tumult and hazard and threats every day, and that is not the American dream. That is not the promise of this country. We need to restore the promise of this country. Because if we don't, they will send someone worse than Donald Trump. Think about that. Donald Trump, I'm telling you, the guy, he can't read a memo. They can't make the memo short enough for him to read. He won't sit in that empty chair right there and listen to the CIA brief him about the most interesting secrets in the world today. Which, of course, is a mistake for him because now they're talking about him, but yeah. He'll never figure out how to work the levers of government to send back to Mexico the 11 million people who are living in the United States illegally, including the 40,000 that came from Ireland, who are going to be really shocked when they end up in Mexico. But the next guy will figure that out. He won't lift the anti-Semitic material right from the white supremacist websites. He's not going to tweet about an anti-Muslim ban because he'll know that had Trump not tweeted, had he not spoken about it, the judges never would have been able to throw it out because they knew his intention. And then he did it again. It's not going to do that. And if we're going to save our country, we need to make it fair again. We need to give people opportunity. And the root of all evil in this state is the way we fund our schools, our grade schools and our high schools. We do it different than any other state in America. We use property taxes predominantly to pay for our schools. The thing is, that may have been a good idea 50, 60 years ago, I really don't know, but since then there's been economic segregation. When I was a kid, the rich lived among everybody else. Now the rich live near the rich, the poor live near the poor, and unless you're in the rich community, you'll never have the tax base necessary to fund the schools equally with the best schools in the state. That's not right. Every other state's fixed the problem. You just pay for it at the state level. Basket of different taxes, a lot of income tax, but it's doable, and it's been done everywhere, and we don't do it here. So you got to ask yourself why. If everybody who's looked at this issue knows the answer is to get rid of property taxes and go with income tax, why the heck haven't we done it? It's because the people who lead this state make their money on property tax appeals. That's their side job. That's how they make money. That's the source of their wealth. That's their income. It dwarfs whatever we pay them to be state reps and state senators. Until we stop that, they'll never be free of that conflict of interest to make the right decision. We need to ban people from having outside income that's adverse to the interest of the body they were elected to serve, which is fancy language of saying, if you're elected to be a state rep or state senator, you should be a property tax appeals lawyer. And until we do that, we're never going to fix the situation with our state. And that's the ugly truth. It's so imbalanced. If you can go home tonight, you can go on Zillow. You can go on Zillow and just pick your hometown and give you a list of the last 20 houses that sold there. Take you 10 minutes. Then go on the local assessor's website in whichever county we are in, either here or over there. And it'll show you the assessed value. And I'll tell you this. The most expensive houses that sold were undervalued. The least expensive houses that were sold in the last year were overvalued. Means the poorest people among us paid more than they should have. And the richest people among us paid a lot less than they should have. It's true in every county. And it doesn't have to be that way. But it's going to be that way if our elected officials continue to make their money doing that. And we need to stop it. If we stop that, we can fund our schools. 75% of the kids who graduate from any high school, public high school in Illinois, can't go to community college or trade school without remedial education. Do you hear that number?
Wow.
Probably most of you thought that the graduation rate in the United States has been going up. It's a great fact, and I think we cheer on our elected officials all the time. But what we ought to know is that about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer, federal government started changing the way they reported that data so they include GEDs. And then if you stripped out the GEDs from that rate and reported it accurately, that the graduation rate in the United States peaked in the 1970s and has declined 5 percentage points ever since. Now that's just proof that they're hiding the truth. That's not the ugly truth, though. The ugly truth is that 75% of the kids in this state, when they graduate from high school, are not prepared to go on to community college, trade school, university, not be part of the 21st century economy. You want to know where that Trump voter came from? Southern Illinois. It came from the high schools that we fund inadequately to educate them. And they know that they'll never be part of this economy. And we need to fix that. It's immoral. It's against Catholic social justice, which is derivative of Abrahamic social justice, which is the guiding principle for Muslims, Jews, and Christians, and looks a lot like any other religious principles of right and wrong. And we are violating that systematically, and we have a duty to stop it. Now, the most important thing is to remember what The founding fathers and others taught us. They taught us, they gave us a motto. They gave us a slogan for our country, out of many, one. And we were all taught as little kids to worship and revere Abraham Lincoln because he gave his life to the thing he thought was more important than anything else, which was to keep the Union together and to give everyone greater freedom. And then President Roosevelt, one of the wealthiest men of his generation, he says in the 1940s, we all go up or we all go down, but we go together. We need to remember today, when we've got lots of choices, do we go it alone and act on our own behalf, or should we continue to think of others? We need to remember that higher communal purpose that the founding fathers gave us. We need to keep in mind what Abraham Lincoln taught us, which is that our own lives are not the most important thing in this country. We need to realize that we can stand on the right side of history, even if we are wealthy, just as President Roosevelt did, and look after everyone in our country. If we do those simple things, we can give our kids great jobs, we can give them long careers, we can keep them near us so that they can let us help raise their children and take care of us when we're older. We can keep the promise of our country, and we can make sure that the American dream is the dream for all Americans. And that's why I want to run for governor. Thank you all very much. Okay. Was there something I left out?
First one is.
Use the mic.
In providing tax breaks for corporations to get them to stay in our state. And if not, how do you plan to get businesses to stay here?
Well, that's a complicated little question right there. I mean, we need to understand that we don't operate in a vacuum, that other states are trying to pilfer our manufacturers all the time. The governor of Louisiana came up here, he took an entire manufacturing plant out of East St. Louis. Just went there and said, we'll build you a new plant, we'll pay for your power, we'll train your employees, and we'll give you, your own exit and a railhead. And you don't have to pay any taxes in Louisiana. And they're like, well, we have shareholders, we have no choice, we need to leave. So we have to be mindful that that is going on, and we're going to need the tools to respond. But that's a fool's errand. That's just a race to the bottom to compete like that. There's a much better way to compete. The truth is, when I came out of college, people like me, we moved to the places where there were jobs, even if it was Decatur. No, but really, in the old days, people moved to where the jobs are. That's not true anymore. Today, the jobs move to where the people are. The jobs move to where the people are. And all we have to do is be where the people are. Be where those highly educated young folks coming out of school are. And the jobs will come here. We won't need to give them tax breaks or incentives. They will come on their own because they can't survive any other way. The thing is, Illinois is super unique. First of all, Chicago, the biggest city, is the biggest college town in America. There are more college kids in Chicago than anywhere else. And there's great universities that are public in every major population center in the state. Then there's a whole series of private ones. Then there's Argonne and Fermi. We have endless reasons people should move here to go to school and then stay here once they are here. But Governor Rauner has relentlessly attacked the entire system of public education and wounded all the privates as well. We need to stop that assault, reverse the trend, support those colleges, and we'll never need tax rates to incentivize anybody to stay, never mind getting them to move here.
The state of Illinois was once the best state in the union for providing services for the developmentally disabled. Now we are ranked 49th or 40th of all the states. What is your plan to bring Illinois up to the standards and once again provide superior services to our most vulnerable citizens? Because they are unable to care for themselves, they depend on our help. We can't continue to underserve them.
So I think today, if you ask people around the United States and to some degree around the world, what is Illinois known for? They'll tell you three things. Political corruption, the overnight shootings in Chicago, and the inability to balance a budget, financial mismanagement, those three things. Now, I know a lot about business and where we stand globally, and I'll say this. Today, from our heartland, we jam port cities from Rotterdam to Osaka with the products of our farms and our corn and soybeans. We dominate the world exchanges from London to Tokyo with the products of our exchanges, with the Mercantile Exchange and the SIBO. We dominate a lot of the world's technology markets and big pharma with places like Baxter, the technology companies that dot our landscape. But the greatest export that we ever gave the world, the greatest thing we ever sent them, was Special Olympics. That came from Illinois. And it saved the lives of millions of people, saved their lives. Because in places like China and India, where 30 or 40 years ago those kids would have been killed in the crib, they're allowed to live because people see that they can participate in society. 100,000 people show up at the opening games in Beijing for Special Olympics. That's what we should be known for. That's what we should be celebrated for. We should have the greatest economy, the greatest capacity to care for our disabled brothers and sisters and our friends with mental illness. That's what we should be known for around the world. We've got a good start on it. All we have to do is take care of each other, and that's not what's happening. I think something else is occurring. I think there's an assault on the poor, assault on people with disabilities. If you wanted, Sheila and I have lived in the same town for 22 years. If you wanted us to leave, I said, what would it take to get us to leave? You shut down my grade school that my kids went to. It's walking distance to my house. Then get rid of some of the cops so that the crime rate goes up in our community. And then shut down the hospital that's 5 miles away, 4 miles away, because my kid with anaphylactic shock, we need to live closer to a hospital. If you did those three things, I would leave that house that I love and all of my neighbors who we love as well. That's what I would do. And that's what's happening in the city of Chicago and Illinois. The city of Chicago's become smaller and whiter. Smaller and whiter. We're pushing the poor and minorities to suburbs. We're handing them Section 8 vouchers, telling them to get on a bus, move somewhere else. Overwhelming communities in suburbia. And then the state's doing the same thing. It's cutting off all of the funding mechanisms that used to pay for home health care, take care of our disabled children, our elderly parents, our brothers and sisters with mental illness or other sorts of disabilities. And it's forcing anybody in those positions to leave the state. Last year, Illinois became smaller, and on a per capita basis became 10% richer. Nobody in here feels like they made 10% more. You didn't. That's not what occurred. We got rid of the poor. We pushed them out of our state. And that's immoral. And it should end.
What is your plan for beating Browner? Other than just saying that you're not Browner, and in addition to beating Browner, how are you going to unite the Democratic Party in Illinois?
I think there's a fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats. I think that difference is that we believe that government can be good, that it can educate our children, that it can provide safety to our families, that it can invest in the economy that it is part of and that we are all part of, and that it can invest in the people of our state. That's what Democrats believe, and Republicans don't. They attack that notion. They think government's the enemy. Government, the Republicans in the old days, you know, they used to, when I was growing up, Reagan fought for the middle of the country. He fought for what he described as Reagan Democrats. That doesn't occur anymore. They're not trying to convert all of us to become Republicans. They're trying to do something else. They're trying to suppress our vote. In the states where they control the legislature, I said own, where they when they control the legislature, they pass laws that cause voter suppression, the very subgroups that traditionally vote Democratic. If they don't control the legislature, they control the airwaves. And they pound us with billions of dollars each election cycle. 4 messages. Government is broken. Elected officials are in it for themselves and are corrupt. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't bother voting. And they target the television shows, the magazines, the advertising meant to go after Democratic constituents. And so we need to respond to that. We need to reverse that message. We need to have greater turnout. We need to push back on suppression. And the only way to do that is to purify government, to make sure that we know that everyone believes that it is not corrupt. We need everyone to know that our elected officials are not in it for themselves. And if we do those 2 things, we can have enormous voter turnout for Democrats, and we can beat Brown out of his own game. Thank you.
For you. You talked about funding for our schools by property taxes, that you think that should change. And if you change it, how would you raise the revenue? And then so, if it was an income tax, what do you think the rates might be?
So the question I think everybody heard is, how do we pay for the schools if we don't pay them with real estate taxes? And the first thing we have to do is make sure that the communities that want to continue to pay for a level of support for their schools that's greater than the average can do so with their own real estate taxes. We don't threaten them. We can't threaten them. And that needs to be allowed to continue on. But for every community, we need to pay for the majority of all the school costs at the state level. The best way to do that is with a progressive income tax. Now the thing is, you shouldn't really think about looking to me for that answer in this sense. We shouldn't look inward, we should look outward. We should look to Springfield or the Thompson Center. That's not where the solutions are. We should look at other states. Let's decide what state has the best outcome and grab their system. We need to decide who do we want to be. Do we want to be Massachusetts and Minnesota? With a little bit of California thrown in? or do we want to be Kansas and Mississippi? Because we're all on the way to Kansas and Mississippi right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like that. We need a progressive income tax. It's really complicated to do in this state, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible, A. And it doesn't mean that there isn't a different way to get at it. There may be ways that we can tax things like passive income or unearned income, which are types of income that rich people get from real estate rents or from stocks and bonds, which most people don't have access to. So by taxing them at a flat rate, but a higher flat rate, we can raise perhaps the flat rate nature of our taxes, not go into the Constitutional Convention and end up with the exact right outcome and be able to fund our schools in a way that allows the wealthy among us to share the burden in a way that's appropriate and that has helped the economies in states like California and and Massachusetts and Minnesota. That's what we want. The problem is estimating what that needs to be, because Governor Rauner has now gone, a couple of years now without a budget. It looks like he's going to go 4 years. It looks like he's going to have $26 billion in unpaid bills. And until we know the size and magnitude of that problem, it's really hard to understand what's going to happen with everything else.
Can you share with us your thoughts on Illinois legalizing marijuana for recreational use and the financial benefits for the state?
I'd say this, we are not a failed state. We have a state government budget problem. That's what we have. We don't have an economic problem. Now, Governor Rauner is slowly making that state government budget problem become an economic problem. It doesn't need to be that way. When Pat Quinn was governor, we had a slightly higher income tax. We had a balanced budget. We were paying our currently due payments under all pension programs, and we were paying down outstanding payables. That's pretty much all you want out of your government right there. And we could do that again without a lot of harm to anybody in our state, and that's what we should do. The idea that we should abandon that and instead pay for everything by legalizing marijuana because we don't want to take on the hard work necessary to balance a budget in a modern state in America is ridiculous. Let's separate those two issues. Let's separate those two issues. Let's balance our budget the way a great state balances its budget. And if we want to legalize marijuana for other reasons, let's do that. But let's not confuse our motivation. That's what I'd say.
How are you going to cut through the noise of what looks like it'll be a crowded primary campaign field, and will you have the money to do such?
I'd say this, there's like no evidence that you can buy a Democratic primary in America. There's no evidence that that can happen. The Democratic primary voter is super well educated. And today, the number of news sources that they have access to is so vast that no one can dominate them all. The people who come out and vote, they're going to know all of the candidates. And I believe that my ideas, my mission is more powerful than their millions, that my beliefs are more powerful than their billions. I'll have the resources to compete, but this ought to be an election. It shouldn't be a public auction. Not in Illinois.
Yes. Our current Attorney General is in favor of maximum sentencing for many who enter our judicial system. Do you have a plan to reduce the number of nonviolent offenders within the state of Illinois prisons?
Well, I don't know that there's a study that shows that that long mandatory sentences result in a reduction of crime. Like if that exists, I'm unaware of it. I don't believe that exists. So I don't know why that would be the plan. You want to reduce the number of people in our jails? Give people hope. Give them a job. Give them a school where they're fully educated. I talked about that graduation rate, that 75% graduation, or that 75% college ready rate, where 75% of the kids are not ready. I told that story on the west side. Chicago, it was a small community group, and they're like, Mr. Kennedy, we don't believe you. We don't believe that the schools in our area are that bad. So it's a rough, that's rough. The alderman gets up. He says, well, I didn't believe him either. I didn't believe Mr. Kennedy, but I went and talked to Chicago Public Schools, and he gave him the names of, I don't know, half a dozen high schools on the near west side. He said, tell me what the average ACT score is for those schools. He said that the average ACT scores for the schools around his neighborhood was, upon graduation, was a 14. What's that kid gonna do? What's that kid gonna do? Kid's not gonna work in my office. Probably can't work in my construction site. Not in vertical construction where you can get really hurt. And the other people are like, hey, we want somebody who can read the warning signs. We want somebody who knows what the numbers on the dial means. So those people are screwed.
Yeah.
So what choice do they have? They go and they start selling drugs, because that's what you can do. And we've got kids come in on 290. They've got the same thing going on in their own communities. One day one of them breaks a leg or hurts an elbow, and the way the medical reimbursements work in Illinois, the doctor doesn't want to get a call on Sunday trying to refill a prescription because you don't get reimbursed for that. So instead of giving the kid 3 painkillers to get him through the night, gives him 30. Kid takes Percodan or Vicodin or hydrocodone for 4 or 5 days, 10 days, and then they're hooked. They figure out how to buy some pills at school. They know they're not getting a job. So they get high instead. They buy all the pills they can, they go broke, they figure out they can get heroin cheaper. They drive in 290. Once they're in the city limits, they drop down 4 blocks, they see a pair of sneakers tied to a telephone pole wire. They know that that's where you pay. They drop some money there, and they pull up 4 blocks, there's another set of sneakers. They go there and they pick up the drugs. They've separated the payment from the possession. And they get back on 290 and they go home. Now one of those kids could end up in jail, and one of them's going to end up dead of a drug overdose. And this state has no plan for either. Until we fix how we pay for these schools and give these kids hope, we're going to pack those jails. And we're going to pack them with people who think that the only solution is longer sentences and harsher penalties. And it's not right. We control their lives for days, months, years, and we do nothing to educate them. That's a good chance that's me.
It's not.
Somebody needs to call Sumner back. Anyways, we do nothing with these kids when they're young adults when they're in jail. It's not like unbelievable. When we send them out, no preparation. They hit the streets again. They've got no more skills coming out than them when they went in, except they're older and less employable. And then they do it again, go back to jail. It's so much cheaper to teach a child than to jail an adult. And that's not original thinking right there. And I'd say the AG is wrong about whatever position he said she had.
Another question about campaigns. Based purely on policy alone, why should I and everyone else in this room support you over the other candidates in this race?
Things don't change. If we don't fix these problems, we're all going to die alone. I'm not kidding you. What do you want? Our kids are going to leave. Anybody who can leave is going to go. It's true about every community across our state. And that doesn't have to happen. The thing is, it's It's only going to change if we fix the economy. If we have 75% of the kids who can't participate in that economy, we're never going to fix the economy. To fix the economy, we need to fix our schools. To fix our schools, we need to fix our taxes. To fix our property taxes, to fix our schools, we have to go for an income tax. To go for an income tax, we have to get rid of the property tax. To get rid of the property tax, we have to stop the elected officials from making money on the outside for big property tax appeals lawyers. There is no one in this race who's going to say that to you and who's going to bring it to an end. There's nobody but me who's going to do that. And that's the truth. It's not pretty, it's not beautiful, it's not inspiring, but it's the truth. And if you want change, if you want to hold these people accountable, come and help me out. If you want to be accomplices to that system and preserve it, then vote for the status quo. That's your choice. After the you're all going to die alone comment,
All right, well, I'd like to, that concludes our event this evening. I would like to thank the members of the UAW Local 145 for allowing us the use of their hall this evening. Like to thank Chief Myers of the Montgomery Police Department as well as the Kane County Sheriff's Department for helping with traffic. Note, when you're leaving, once you get on Kevin, take it all the way down to Countryside and go out to Orchard that way. There should be some officers directing traffic. It'll be much easier to get back onto Orchard, much safer. By the way, we have a set of keys at the sign-in table. So if somebody's missing them, that's where they are. And I would like to think we had some Junior League volunteers that were helping us today as well. The Cresto grandkids helped make the fans. Charlie and Jack helped with setup. And Miss Anya in the back helped with handing out water. Thank you guys very much. Thank you to all of the members of our group who helped us organize, set up, and pull off this wonderful evening. And thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy, for coming out.